Okay, you guys, I am back, ready to dive back into my Dubai and Doha travel album and finish this thing up. Let's go ahead and dive right in. Okay, so if you guys have been following along, I have shared my process so far for putting together a lot of this travel album to Dubai and Doha. And I completed my introductory section, minus printing a few things that need to kind of be adhered together. And I completed my Doha section, which is 3 days worth of travel to Doha. And then after Doha, we went to Dubai. So flipping to the end of Doha, I ended off the last day in Doha, and then I have my first day in Dubai. In between here, I need to do my Dubai kind of intro page and my travel day. So my plan for that, let me move this, hold on. So going into Doha, I have this spread to kind of open the day or the city. So I'm going to move this out of the way. So I have the same thing planned for, here's Dubai, and here is for Abu Dhabi. And I also printed out the letters. I'm going to hand cut these and put these together. And then putting the Abu Dhabi one aside because that's at the very end. For Dubai, on the back of here, I'm going to talk about my travel day. And then on the other side will be like the start. So the flight from Doha to Dubai is only like an hour long. So I have like the travel stuff on that side, and on the back of here will be like what we did in Dubai that first kind of afternoon and second half of the day. There's a few photos and things like that. So it's not like the official Dubai day one, but just to include it. So I have this photo that I took out of the window of the Dubai frame, and it was kind of my favorite photo from Dubai that would look good blown up. It's not the best photo. It's not nearly as good as the one I have for Doha here. And I also really love the Abu Dhabi one, which is the Grand Mosque. So it is what it is. I think it still works. So what I need to do is go ahead and kind of crop these out and get these two spreads put together. So I'm now in that point where I kind of already have my formula down. I know what I'm doing. I just need to kind of get it put together. So I'm going to work on these spreads first and just get them done. And then I'm going to go back and forth to my computer to print photos and put together each day, just like I did for Doha. The other thing I'm keeping in mind is how bulky this is getting. So I have 5 days to do, and I've done 3, and it's clearly like more than halfway full. These are obviously from those later days, but I need to be mindful of that. And the good thing is I don't have a ton of photos from all of the days in Dubai because we spent 4 days there and that was too much. So I mean, it was nice because we had some relaxing time, but I definitely have some days where I only need 1 or 2 pages. So that's going to help me get this done quicker and also not make the album too bulky. So I'm going to go ahead and work on putting these ones together, and I will pop in and out like I did in my last video and my last few videos in this series and get this put together. If you haven't watched those videos, if you're just now tuning in and you're wondering what I'm talking about, I have a whole series of putting this album together, and this is actually the 4th video in the series, and I'm hoping to finish up the album in this video. I might not share the entire process. I definitely won't share the entire process. It would be way too long, but I will share bits and pieces as I get this album completed, and then stay tuned because there will be a final flip through of the completed album once it's done. But I do have a playlist of all of those videos, so if you haven't seen the first 3 videos in this series, I highly recommend checking those out first and then coming back and watching this one. So let's go ahead and dive right in.
Okay, so I'm going to do a little bit of voiceover in this video, and I'm also going to put some music on while I'm doing some of the process video portion, and then I will jump in periodically with audio. Either I'll be doing voiceover or I'll be speaking about the process from my desk, and I just felt like that made the most sense because I wanted you to see some of the process of actually putting the pages together, but I don't necessarily have a ton to say. For this portion here, I'm putting together those title pages for each of the cities. And this goes a little bit quicker once you've done one. And whether you're putting together an album like Week in the Life or a travel album or anything that has repetition in a formula, I highly recommend doing one set first, making sure you like how it comes out, how everything flows together. And that was how I did my Doha title page. Now that I know I like that layout, I like the process that I followed, everything about it worked, I'm now going through and using sort of an assembly line fashion to do Dubai and Abu Dhabi's title pages. Right now, a lot of people are working on Week in the Life, and I highly recommend just applying the same process to Week in the Life if you're working on that one. Essentially create Monday first. And if you like the way that you do maybe your title page for Monday, then go ahead and do Tuesday through Sunday in an assembly line fashion, and it will make the process so much quicker. But I also think that you should do that first one by itself, just in case a measurement was off, or you didn't think things through properly, or you don't like the way it comes out. It doesn't look the same on paper as it did in your head. That way you can make adjustments rather than having already made 7 of them before you realize this. So for this one here, I'm trying to figure out where to put the word Dubai on the spread. I kind of wanted it in the sky, but I also really like how the haze covered up some of the buildings in the distance. Dubai is in the middle of a desert, and you can really tell that when you are up high. This photo was taken from the Dubai frame, not from the Burj Khalifa, which is the tallest building in the world currently, and the tallest building in Dubai, of course. And I chose a picture from this building instead because you can see the Burj Khalifa in the background. It's there on that right-hand side. And I like that is such an iconic image for Dubai itself that pictures from the Burj Khalifa are a little less interesting because there's not a lot of landmarks in Dubai, and you really can't see any of the other ones from Burj Khalifa. But because the Burj Khalifa is so tall, you can pretty much see it from anywhere in the city except for when you are on it. In addition to adding the title on here, I'm also adding the dates on this chipboard piece. These were from Ali Edwards. I believe they were from a December daily collection, but I used the same thing for my Doha title page, so I wanted to do that here as well. The letters that I'm cutting out, I did these digitally, and they were with an alpha stamp set from Ali Edwards. I believe that was also part of this travel release that I'm working with. If you missed that in one of my earlier videos, I'm using the 2022 travel release from Ali Edwards along with a bunch of products from my stash. And I have more information about the products that I'm using in part 1 of this series.
Okay, so I'm starting to work on day 1, and I printed some photos, and I'm gonna need to cut these out off camera because some of them have my boyfriend in them. But essentially my plan is, I found this paper in my stash. It was from, I think, the Frame scrapbook kit, and it was 12 by 12. I cropped it down. This, I'm gonna do that travel day. I'm just gonna put some photos and a few little words about it. And then I have my day 1 tag. And then I printed this large photo of me from the frame, which is our first stop on day 1. So that's gonna start that. And then on the back, I need to do something about the frame. I don't know what yet. And then I have this for more photos from the frame because I have a lot. And then this was some ephemera I'm gonna put in one of those pockets. And then I'm gonna have, I think like a, where does it go? This. After the frame, we went to the mosque. So I think I have more frame photos. And then I'll have this with the mosque. And then this was my page for the day. I'm gonna crop it down and make a grid of like smaller photos from the mosque visit, because it was something where I had a lot of photos. I had so many from the frame, but they were like really neat looking photos. I didn't want to make them so small. And then on the back of the mosque, then we went to the Museum of the Future. So I haven't figured that part out yet, but I'm just starting to kind of like print photos and start getting things put together. It's a little difficult when printing at home because I edit my photos to fit onto a 8.5 by 11 page. So this is a 7 by 8.25 photo. And I could print that by itself, but there's space here. And I have these like little 2 by 1.75 photos. So I have a strip of them here. And then like on this sheet, I have like a collection of photos of various sizes and shapes because I had ones to fit in all of those. So I'm gonna go ahead and start cropping these out, getting them in the pockets, because it's hard for me to kind of keep track of where every photo goes when I just have them like this. So once I have them cropped down and put in pockets or adhered to pages, then it makes it a little bit easier.
So although I am using different pages and different page layouts throughout my album, I am going back to the same styles over and over again. And one of the ones I'm doing is stamping with this alpha stamp set, which was from one of the Alphas Are Awesome from Ali Edwards. And I'm just cutting out these letters from vellum and then stitching it down onto my pages to kind of create titles. I'm also using some alpha stickers from Kelly Perky's shop, and you'll see those throughout the album as well, also in black. And then I'm just doing some handwriting here and there. I talked about this in one of the earlier parts of this video, but to start each day, I created a tag, which you could see a little bit of that Dubai day 1 tag. It's under my paper trimmer on the screen. And I created a little box on there on my computer that held the weather, my steps, what we had for our meals, and then a summary of the entire day. And that's the bulk of my journaling. I didn't do large journaling throughout the entire process or throughout the album. Instead, I wanted to focus more on the photos and just little anecdotes here and there. So I have that overview for each day that covers that journaling. And then as I felt like it, I added additional journaling spots throughout the album. But there was no requirement that I did that to myself. There's no requirement of anything, of course, throughout the album. Instead, I would just add them as stories came up in my mind that I wanted to include, or as different things happened, just to provide a little bit of context to some of the photos.
Okay, I just wanted to check in a little because I just finished this page, which is going to go right after. So this page goes here right after that. I don't know what I'm going to put here yet. And then I have this page. And then I go into Dubai day 1. But what I wanted to share quickly was just that. So this was a totally different page from other ones that I've done. I used this pattern paper that I had in my stash that was good for building a bunch of photos on top of. But what I wanted to point out was this one here. It was similar, totally separate paper, but they still look like they belong in the same album because I'm using the same stamp and the same treatment to stamp titles on vellum, cut it out, stitch it down with black thread, and then do some handwritten journaling. And repeating similar things like that throughout the album makes it seem cohesive, even though I am doing totally different things on different pages. So I'm going to go ahead and start working on day 1. I'm not going to film a lot of the process because a lot of the photos have my boyfriend in it and it's really repetitive anyway, but I will pop back on as I continue working through this. Okay, I'm just going to check in with you on kind of how progress is going. So I haven't figured out what to put here yet. If I had thought it through a little bit better, I would have finished this last day in Doha on this side, but I was kind of like, my formula was always to finish the day and then go into the next day. I kind of forgot that I needed this spread for Dubai, which worked on this side because here I have that travel day, because I think I said this earlier, it's only like an hour-long flight from Doha to Dubai. So although I was traveling, most of the day was not taken up by the flight. So I guess most of it was, but there was still enough day that we did some sightseeing and stuff in Dubai. So I wanted to document that here. And I shared how that one came together. Then I'm going into my Dubai days. So kind of how I'm working through each day. And Dubai day 1 was kind of the busiest day, the one that has the most in it. So I already did these earlier in one of my previous videos. And essentially this has the weather, my steps and miles walked each day, the meals of kind of where we ate, and just a quick itinerary. And I like having this for each day because then I don't have to worry about journaling throughout. I can add journaling like similar to this, like as I need to, or as I feel like it fits the photos, but it's okay to leave it off. And that makes it flow a little easier for me as I'm working through the album. So for a day like this, where it's very busy and there's a lot going on, what I did was I just went through my photos on my computer, and I shared that in one of my previous videos, kind of my process for that. But I have all of those photos, first of all, duplicated for this project. So it's just a digital copy that is for this project. So I can just delete it once it goes in the album, and that way I know it's been used. And it's not my official like copy that I'm saving, because of course I want to keep a digital copy of all of my photos. So I have those in a folder by day, and I'm going through them. I organize them in those folders in order of what happened by event. So the first thing we did on day 1 was go to the Dubai frame. So I knew I wanted to start with a full page photo of this photo of me. I haven't been starting my days with full page photos because I have the photo on the back of the tag. I really like how it looks like this layered. I don't love the photo and photo, especially like I'm in both of them, but I love this photo so much. It's my favorite one from this trip. It is currently my profile picture on Instagram. It's just a fun photo. So I like having that one to start. And then as I'm planning it out, essentially I'm going back and forth from my desk to my computer and selecting photos. So I have it narrowed down to all the ones I want to include from the frame. And so I am creating an assortment of traditional scrapbook pages. So I have this one, and actually I think I want to put like a dot on that. I was considering actually putting like a brad, but I adhered these back to back without thinking about it. So let's see what we have here. This actually has a few like little dots on it. So I'm just going to take this one, stick that over there. Perfect. Okay, so I'm adding in kind of traditional style scrapbook pages, and this, let me just flip back here. So like this, I'm using a similar format. I'm stamping, all of my large alphas are stamped with this set, which is one of the Alphas Are Awesome set. I don't know which number because they don't print the numbers on them, so I don't remember, but that is one of the Alphas Are Awesome sets from Ali Edwards. I'm stamping them on vellum, stitching them down, and then these are stickers from Kelly Perky's shop that is now closed, but I have a whole stash of them, and I'm kind of using that for my titles. And then, so I'm just using similar formulas throughout so that there's some kind of continuation throughout the album. So here I did that here. I apologize for sticky notes covering my boyfriend. So I have a couple of photos here. I added some washi and then some larger pieces from my stash with patterned paper to break it up. I had a lot of photos, so I used a divided page protector here to add in some more photos from the frame and this piece of ephemera that I have. Then next, we went to the Jumeirah Mosque. So I just printed another set of photos. So essentially I'm editing my photos on my computer, and as I'm editing them, I'm printing them as I can fit them on 8.5 by 11 page, which means they're not fully being printed in order. And this large frame photo, which is the last one here, I have for the frame, was my last one. I printed some stuff that comes later first, just because this one's so large. And yes, I could just print just this photo, but I didn't want to waste a full sheet of paper. So I try to find ways to print more than one photo at a time on an 8.5 by 11 piece of photo paper to kind of conserve paper. But that makes the process a little confusing because I can't necessarily finish one page and then move on to the next. So my next page is going to be a smaller insert, and when I'm working through my album, I try to vary the page sizes. So like here I have a full 7 by 8.25, which is like the full, actually I can't show this one, but I have a full 7 by 8.25 page there. Then I have this one, which is a smaller insert, which I think is like a 7 by 7 square. Then I have my tag, then it gets slightly bigger, and then here we go to a full page that goes all the way across. So like I'm layering different page sizes, which is something I really like to do. So here, going into Dubai Day 1, I have the smaller tag, I have a full page. I have the divided page protector, which is a full page, so a lot of times I would add a divider here or a smaller thing, but it just didn't work with the photos and things I wanted to include. But now I have two large ones in a row, so I know I want something smaller. So the next thing we're doing is we went to a mosque. So what I decided to do is I printed this photo of the mosque, and then I have my ticket. My ticket was about 5 inches across. It's a little bit bigger, but I'm going to trim it down because it's just the white part. And I'm going to make that part of this page. So part of my design in this album is working in my ephemera. So I'm just going to adhere these back to back. And I'm thinking though, so I didn't put a ton of glue on this side because I'm thinking, that's not super straight. I'm so bad at doing this. I don't know if anyone else struggles the same way that I do with trying to adhere things back to back and get them perfectly lined up. So I'm thinking though, let's see, I'm going through my supplies that I have pulled aside. I have all of these labels. So this is like where I kind of made my own kit while working on this. I thought I had some tabs in here. Let's see. These are all labels. Essentially, I made my own kits to kind of have a collection of things to pull from while working on my project so that there is going to be that continuation of supplies. Yes, I'm going to pull things from my stash as I go, or just like if something kind of stands out to me that I need a specific type of embellishment, I might go hunting in my stash for it. But having a like mini collection that I made for myself is very helpful to kind of keep some of that continuation. So I guess I did not pull out a tab sheet. So I'm gonna go find a tab sheet because I'm thinking I wanna add a little tab. Okay, so I found these ones, which are clearly Halloween themed and not at all what I'm looking for, but there are some just general ones. So this one that says documented, I thought would work really well. So what I'm gonna do is just fold this in half. And what you could do with these tab stickers, I think they're designed that you could fold it over the edge of your photo and have it kind of be on the outside, but I'm not gonna do that. Instead, I'm gonna put it on the inside here. So I'm just gonna adhere this like that. And then I'm gonna adhere my ticket on here. And then just to make sure that it's sturdy, I'm gonna add a tiny attacher staple. And it gives it a little bit of texture too. So now I have this insert. I need to just trim this down. And then the next step is to punch my holes. So I'm pretty sure I've shared this already, or you've seen me do it in the sped up versions. But essentially how I punch my holes is I use a single hole punch. I have one like kind of divided page protector that I've kind of sacrificed for punching. You can still use it eventually, but I just have one to the side for this. And then I clip it in place and use my single hole punch. There are 6-hole punches you can get. I do have one. I have found that I prefer to do it with a single hole punch because I have not found a 6-hole punch that easily punches through thicker kind of cardstock or layered embellishments. It's really just like one sheet at a time, and it's very easy for it to slip and not be perfectly lined up. Looks like this needs to also be trimmed. There we go. So now let's go back to my album. And I will put this one in here next. So I have already made a page that goes next with kind of a grid. So I took the paper that looked like this and I made a grid of photos from this. A lot of them have my boyfriend, so I'm not gonna be able to show it on video. I'll find a way to blur it to show you guys later. But that one's going to be here. And then on the back of that, I'm going into the Museum of the Future, which is the next thing that we visited. So for the Museum of the Future, Museum of this Future is this like really neat looking building. It's shaped like this. And so we have quite a few photos from that. I am going to create a multiple page spread or multiple pages for the Museum of the Future, just because there were so many cool photos of it. And I did, let me see, there was like some ephemera, but it was like this cloth bag, and I can't find it right now, it's somewhere here, that said Museum of the Future on it, because we did buy some stuff from the gift shop. But I'm just not going to include that because it's super bulky. And I think that just adding in the photos will be good enough for this. There we go. So I printed these photos. So my plan is I have the back. Here's the back of that grid I made. Will be a full page photo. And then I am going to make a collage of photos on this side. That is going to be more of like a scrapbook layout. I don't know, there's a smudge, so I'm gonna do it this way. And in between those, again, I'm gonna sandwich a smaller page, and I'm gonna make that smaller page have a full photo on one side. And then the other side, I think I'm going to use this pattern paper and this Loving This, because I think that that will kind of break it up a little bit. So it's not full photo, it'll be full photo, Loving This on the back, full photo, and then here will be my collage. So I think I'll film the process for getting this piece put together. Then on the back of that, we have one more thing we did this day, which was just like this little kind of like indoor experience thing. It wasn't that great, but I'm still gonna put some of the photos to finish off the day, and that will wrap up day 1 in Dubai, and I'll move on to day 2. Okay, so I'm working on day 2 of Dubai now, and this day there was a lot less going on. So I took some time on my computer to kind of break down the day into, there were really 3 segments. We spent time by the pool, so I started putting this page together. Then we went out to the Palm Jumeirah and got lunch. And then we went, I think that's what it's called. So then we went to see the Burj Khalifa at night and the fountain show. So most of the pictures are from that. What I decided to do to plan this day, so the pattern paper that I picked to be kind of my feature for this day was this one, and I already cut it apart, but it had like these stripes that were, each stripe had a different word on it, and some have foil. So what I decided to do is something I've done in December Daily before. There was a similar paper. It didn't actually have the stripes, but it had these large words in a phrase, and I cut it into strips. And my plan is that, like, so this is the first page, and each page is going to be slightly bigger. So then the next page will go behind it like that, and you'll flip this open and there'll be a strip there, and then there'll be one more like that. And so you'll have 3 stacked pages with these as each strip. And that will be the full day. So here's the first part. And then on the back of that, I'm gonna do this kind of trip here. So I think this one is probably gonna be the wander. So I'm gonna put one on the back too, just to like use more. And I'm just kind of printing things and kind of figuring out kind of a grid. I have this as the right size, so I think I'm gonna probably put that on there somehow. Then next is going to be this one with a picture of Burj Khalifa that I haven't printed yet. And then on the back, it's going to be this one with journaling about it, or like the title. And then I have one last one where I kind of came up with a grid of pictures that has this piece in it. So let's see if I can put it back together. And I created this grid on the computer, so if I forgot how it goes, I could definitely look at that. So this is gonna be like that. Well, this will be on this side. So I might go like, I'm not sure. I'll figure it out exactly how I want them to be arranged, but it'll be like that for my last page. So what I'm gonna do is kind of maybe start putting this together. I think I'll film part of the process of what I have so far. I still need to print another picture, but I wanna at least start getting this piece built and finish up day 2. So my plan is to finish this album today. It's just been taking a long time and I really kind of want to finish it. I don't have that many pictures for days 2, 3, and 4. You can see this is not that much. And 3 and 4, there weren't a ton. Abu Dhabi has a lot, so I might switch and work on that one next, just because that one's going to be a lot, and then I'll be able to wrap this up.
So as I talked about earlier in this video, I'm going back to that same kind of toolbox of techniques that I've used throughout the album. And I stamped out Palm Jumeirah on vellum using that same stamp set to do the back of this page. For this day, we started at the pool, then we went to the Palm Jumeirah, and then we went to the Burj Khalifa at night, which is where the majority of my photos are. I had just a couple from going to the Palm Jumeirah. It was kind of a fail of an adventure, but I still wanted to document it, and we got lunch while we were there. So I thought about stamping this out and writing out Palm Jumeirah and attaching it the same way I normally did. However, as I started cutting these out, I realized I already adhered these pages back to back. So I can't stitch it down the same way I have been throughout the album. So I decided to use the word palm still and just adhere it down without stitching. But as I started doing that, I just didn't love it. So I switched course and decided to not use the rest of the stamped alphas and use the alphas from my stash instead, the stickers from Kelly Perky that I had been using to write out Jumeirah, and that works a lot more or a lot better. I'm also going to mess up here because I actually had a piece of ephemera to include on this page and I totally forgot about it as I was putting this together, but I'll address that as I check back in a little later because I just completely missed it. So I make mistakes all the time as I'm working through albums like this, and that's okay. You can always switch course and find a way to make it work. I think that I'm happy with how this page came out and happy with how this day came out. I liked using these word strips as a jumping off point for my various days or spreads within this day. And I don't know, it's just a fun, different way to document a specific day in this vacation.
Okay, so I'm checking back in because I've worked on this all morning, and I just wanted to share kind of where I am. So here's the start of day 2, which I put together partially with you, but I'm just going to show you kind of how it came out. You guys saw me put this together and I totally missed this piece of ephemera, so I took it back apart a little bit, and if I had remembered it, this picture would have been further up, but I already punched the hole, so I'm just going to leave it. It's fine. I guess I could add like a piece of ephemera, like a die cut piece or something there to make it look like it's intentional, that that's staggered and then so crowded at the bottom. So I'll add this guy there. Okay. Then I got that picture printed, got all of this in. You saw me put some of this together. Then I just ended that off with this paper. I originally wanted to end the album with this paper, but I didn't have another photo I wanted to print for this day. And the last day in this album, the last section is our day in Abu Dhabi, which I have so many photos for. So I know I'm going to want all of the spaces I possibly can have there. So now I'm working on day 3. So we went to the top of the Burj Khalifa, and for day 3, I'm really playing with the ephemera. So I have this bag that I cropped down to put on the back of this photo. And I decided to start with this rather than the photo because of this full photo here. I didn't want photo next to photo. Then I have my ticket with the photo on the back. I have this postcard that I got there. I didn't put anything on the back yet, but I'm thinking I could put a photo there. And then I did divided page protector, which is just a great way to add in some extra photos. I added some like layered tags, and my paper for day 3 was this one that had these I want to remember, and I've added 2 of those so far. I'm not sure if I'm going to add all, I won't add all 6. I'm not sure if I'll add how many more I will add, but I did want to just add a couple in there. What I wanted to pop back on here though is for the next section. So for day 3, we went to the Burj Khalifa and we went to the top of that. And then we spent the day in the mall. And I wanted to add in some ephemera. So I have this map of the mall, and let me grab, I have it. My desk gets so messy while I'm working on a project like this. And normally I would kind of clean it up for a video, but I kind of didn't want to because I want you guys to see kind of what my process really looks like. Okay, so the mall had these guides, and so this is like a guide of all of the stores, and then in the back there was this fold out map, and I thought it'd be fun to add this in. Now this map isn't super useful without this whole key, but I'm not adding in, this is like a legit, I don't know, this has like 20 pages of things in here, but I thought the map was still cool looking. So I got 2 of these, so this one I didn't cut up, this one I did. And so I cut the map off the back, and I added it with an attacher here. And I added one of these things like to add some journaling about the mall and a little ephemera here. And then my plan is to add some photos over it, because this part, I don't really care about. These are like their ads for things. And then I want it to be able so you can flip it open and see the map. I got some inspiration for this. Now, I knew I wanted to include the map, but I got some inspiration from this from Morgan Beale's her class that she taught a couple years ago at Ali Edwards doing a travel album. She did something similar with a map, and on hers, she included like different things on the inside. And so I kind of considered doing that, but I decided against it just because there wasn't really anything special I wanted to note. And I think it's just going to be a little more of like a fun interactive piece. But as far as putting this together, so I printed out a decent amount of photos here. I want to crop these down and work on putting them on here. I'll share with you how I plan to do this. Okay, so I cropped down all of these pieces, And so the first thing I want to do is on the back, I'm going to put this photo. So I printed this one to cover this up, and I think that's going to look good just by itself. So in the Dubai Mall, there is a Chinatown. And so it's weird, but like the Chinatown, sorry, my adhesive is sticking. The Chinatown in Dubai is in the mall, which seems weird until you're there and you realize like how huge this mall is. This is like the world's largest mall. And it is actually the world's largest mall. And they also, Dubai is super hot climate. It's in the middle of a desert. What is this? Oh, it's in the middle of a desert, and it's just super hot and unpleasant outside. So a lot of people are inside all of the time. We were there in February, so it was okay to be outside because that is like dead of winter. But most of the year people aren't going to want to go outside there. So having things indoors makes a lot of sense. So anyways, their Chinatown is in the mall, and it looks like it was still kind of under construction, which a lot of things in Dubai are. But it did have a lot of like restaurants and things to see, but we mostly just came to look at like the decor. They had all these like lights and lanterns up. So I thought this was super cute. So I wanted to put this picture on here. And most of my photos from the mall are of the Chinatown because most of it is it's just a mall. So we weren't really taking pictures, we were shopping. I'm thinking on this, I want to add like this guy, and I'm going to stamp on here using that small stamp set that I've used a couple of times already to write Chinatown on here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So now I'm going to work on the inside of this. Oops. So first I have this spread, which I took this photo of the inside of the mall, and my plan is just to cut this in half, and I did not cut that very straight, and put that in here. Okay, so we have this, you open and you see this picture of the mall, and then you open further to this page. So for this one, I have a couple of things I printed. So I have this one of me walking in the mall, and I want that to just be on this page. And then I printed this one of Chinatown, but it's smaller than the page. So I'm gonna cut it in half so it can be on those. And then I need to put some pattern paper in here. And then I printed this one to go here and to add some sort of other thing on here. Okay, so when building something like this that you want to still be able to fold, it's important that you don't adhere anything too close to the seam. So you always need to leave like a little gutter, because when the paper folds, it needs that space. So I'm adding this purposefully, not touching the edges, and I purposely cropped these slightly smaller than these panels because I want this to be able to fold up completely and close just like it was before. Now with this, gotta be careful. I think it's already stuck, but I want to try to line it up as best I can so that the picture is still lined up. Okay, then I have this one last section here, and I'm thinking I want to include like a tag or something like this. And then I also have this tag from shopping. So I think maybe I'm just gonna do that, and maybe I'll put something on there. So I need more of this pattern paper as a background. I'm just making these 4 wide. Yep. The other thing to keep in mind with something like this is you don't want to use dimensional embellishments in here if you can avoid it. Like these 3-dimensional embellishments, I wouldn't want to put something like that because then when you fold it closed, it's not going to lay flat. So you're better off using like flat stickers and that type of thing. So I'm not going to add like chipboard or anything like that in here. You could if you really, really wanted to, but it's probably best to not do that. So like here I could add a brad. I'm thinking about it, but it's going to make it not as, it's going to make it a little bulky. I think it's still worth it. So I'm going to take this little gold brad and I'm going to do like a fake brad because I'm just going to put these 2 things here, and then I'm just going to tape this in the back because I don't want it to actually go through. So hopefully that's enough that this can, yeah, so it can just rotate. And I think I'm just going to stamp mall on here. Okay, so now we have this map. I'm just gonna flip it for you. We have, you open, here's a picture of the mall. You open again, here's me walking. I maybe could add something like this on here. I don't wanna write anything else though. So I'm thinking if there's something I could add that's more just decorative. This is 2-dimensional, so I don't want that. Okay, so we have this full photo. Here's me. And then we have this with the little tags and this Chinatown picture. And then you can flip it open. I think maybe I'm gonna add Chinatown on here in stickers. Actually, no, I take that back because I put the Chinatown on here. Okay, so I think that that is good, and that's going to finish off day 3 in here. So for day 3, we did go and found this really good sushi restaurant, and I had a little bit of ephemera for that, but I'm going to include that in day 4 because we also went there on day 4 and I don't really have much else to include on day 4. So you saw a few photos I printed. My plan for day 4 is, so we had this sushi restaurant we went to, which was kind of the highlight of the day. And then we didn't really do a ton else. So I think what I'm gonna do is include another page protector with 3x4 pockets to kind of tell the story of day 4. And then I'm going to end it off with this with some longer journaling. And then I gotta go into Abu Dhabi. So what my plan is, I already have this. I'm just gonna adhere this to the back of that. And that will be day 4, will just be these 2 things. And I also have this little guy I'm gonna stick in here. And then we have Abu Dhabi, which is the last piece. Well, so then this goes here, and then I have a page here, and then Abu Dhabi. So this is getting chunky, and it's gonna be super chunky because Abu Dhabi, I do have a decent amount to include. But I'm not going to finish that today in the same sitting. I think I'm going to come back and work on that another day, and then I'll wrap this up. But I'm going to wrap this video up here because I think I'm getting pretty close to the end. And what I'll do is I will just go ahead and share the final album, how it comes together in a final flip through video. So I hope that this video helped give you some ideas for putting together a travel album. This guy is so ridiculously chunky so far. Like, let me find a place I can turn it. Here we go. Trying to like close this guy. I do still have a few things I need to finish up in the front, but I will finish all of that for my final flip through. But you can see, man, this thing's getting chunky, but it still has a little bit of space, and I'm going to use every bit of it. It's probably not going to sit totally closed on the shelf once I get Dubai or Abu Dhabi in here. But for Dubai, I just have that day 4, which is really just 2 sheets, and then the start of Abu Dhabi. So I'm not too concerned. That map definitely added a lot of bulk, but it also added a lot in there. So I'm happy about that. And yeah, so thank you guys so much for being here. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. And as always, I hope to see you guys all in the next one. Bye.